Just like any model you create in SOLIDWORKS, sheet metal parts are just a combination of different features working together to create a model. The purpose of this example is to use a combination of different sheet metal features, tools, and options in order to create sheet metal geometry. To ensure the design intent is maintained, I'll make sure that the front and right planes pass through the center of the part. Let's get started. The first step in creating any model is to answer the question, how do I begin? In this case, I know that I want the front plane to define the plane of symmetry, so I'll make sure to create the main geometry on the front plane and use a mid-plane end condition. Before I begin, I'll make sure the units are set to IPS, change the precision to 3 decimal places, and the material to aluminum alloy. T3. With the units and material set, I'll begin the first sketch on the front plane. To make sure the right plane goes through the center of this part, I'll add a midpoint relation between the horizontal line and the origin. Next, I'll dimension the sketch. With the sketch fully defined, I'll launch the base flange feature from the Sheet Metal Command Manager. Since the design intent is to keep this part symmetric about the front plane, I'll use a mid-plane end condition and set the distance to 8 inches. I'll set the sheet metal thickness to 0.032 inches and the bend radius to 0.09 inches in the sheet metal parameters section. I'll set the bend allowance type to K-factor and type in 0.5. Under auto relief, I'll select a rectangular type with a relief ratio of 0.5. Notice that the preview in the graphics area shows how the material is being added. In order for the part to maintain an overall length of 8 inches, I'll make sure the material is added to the inside rather than the outside of the part. The preview looks good, so I'll click the green check, and the first feature is created. Next, I'll add the 3 tabs using a single tab feature. I'll begin by starting a sketch on the back face of the part. The tabs are symmetric, so I'll first sketch a vertical center line from the origin. Next, I'll create half the sketch geometry. And mirror it across the center line. With a sketch created, I'll dimension the sketch, and add sketch relations. I'll also add a dimension between these 2 lines to make sure the tab feature intersects the main geometry. With the sketch fully defined, I'll select the tab feature from the Command Manager. I'll make sure the Merge Results checkbox is checked and that the tab is being created in the right direction. The preview in the graphics area looks correct, so I'll click the green check, and the tab feature is added. Here I have an existing part file that I'd like to modify. For this example, I'll use various sheet metal features to bend the 2 outer tabs, create a linear hole pattern in the bent tabs, add flanges along the outside of the part, and create an offset to the middle tab. As I add the features, I'll make sure the part remains symmetric about the right plane. To get started, I'll bend the 2 outer tabs along the edge of the base flange. First, I'll select the sketched bend icon and use the front face of the tab as the sketch plane. I'll sketch 2 lines, making sure that they're coincident to the corners and an upper edge. When I exit the sketch, the Sketched Bend Property Manager appears. First, I'll select the front face of the tab as the fixed face. Next, I'll set the bend position to Bend Outside, and set the bend angle to 90 degrees. Before I click OK, I'll make sure that the bend direction is correct. Everything looks good, so I'll click OK. Next, I'll create a miter flange along one of the outer edges. Since the flange starts half an inch below the bends, I'll start the sketch for this feature on one of the small bottom faces of the bend. I'll start the sketch, create a line perpendicular to the inside edge, and add a 1-inch dimension. Next, I'll select the miter flange tool. You can see SOLIDWORKS automatically added the perpendicular edge to the Along Edge selection window, so I'll go ahead and select the other edges. I don't want the overall width of the part to change, so I'll set the flange position to Material Inside. For this part, I'll set the gap distance to 0.025 inches. Next, I'll set a half-inch offset distance on the feature from the Feature Manager. I'll leave the remaining options at their default and click the green check to complete the feature. I'll quickly repeat this process on the opposite side of the part. Next, I'll create a simple jog feature along the middle tab. I'll start a sketch on the back face of the tab, draw a horizontal line across the face, and add a 2-inch dimension from the top of the tab to the line. Next, I'll select the Jog tool. I'll select the face below the sketch line as the fixed face, and specify the jog offset end condition to blind and enter a length of 0.5 inches. I'll make sure the jog is going in the right direction. I'll set the dimension position to outside offset, and the jog position to bend centerline. Finally, I'll set the jog angle to 30 degrees, and click the green check to finish this feature. The final feature I'll create is the series of holes along the sketched bend feature. I'll start a circular sketch on one of the bends of the sheet metal, and add a 0.125-inch diameter dimension. Next, I'll add dimensions to position the hole, and use the Linear Sketch Pattern tool to create 7 vertical instances of the sketch, spaced 0.55 inches apart. I'll apply a vertical relation to the construction line. To finish the part, I'll create a cut using a through all end condition. I'll click OK, and the part is finished.